excited. Are you guys excited? Yes. Some of those questions you ask, and let me tell you, tonight we are answering every one of them. So I just want to let you know. We got another one? Okay, we'll add another one.
Where'd you go?
You just threw out my order. My OCD kicks in, so it's like all organized. All right. Well, the first thing we're going to do, you have one too? Thank you, Sharon. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go around, and they're going to introduce themselves. They're going to tell you what they're in and how many years of sobriety. So let's go ahead.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I have 1,305 days in recovery.
That's a lot of days.
That's a lot of days.
My name is Tom. I'm a grateful Christian in recovery from alcoholism, sexual addiction. My sobriety date is March 1st, 84.
Hey, Tom. I'm a grateful Christian in recovery from addiction to alcohol and drugs and a whole plethora of other sin. My name is Kip. My sobriety date is September 20th, 2013.
We were supposed to know the actual date. I gotta get my phone. She told me to put it on silent. My name is Whitney. I'm a child of God, person worth, blessed and highly favored, awesomely, wonderfully made, and I struggle with codependency. My sobriety date is somewhere in January. I'm in year 4.
Awesome.
And my name is Gwen, and I struggle with codependency, and I'm coming up 5 years in May.
Awesome. Yay.
All right, well, I get the honors of asking the questions, so I'm excited to do this. And our first question, are you guys ready, is for Heidi.
Yay.
How do I learn to love myself, forgive myself, and trust God's will for me?
Yeah, tell me.
Oh, okay, yes. Oh, yeah, that's easy, right? So for me, it's been a process. With that process, it's learning to love myself has come through hard work. It's been through learning to let go. Working the steps has been a crucial part of that. Working with my sponsor, learning to just let go of the things that aren't for me anymore. It's been a lot of therapy has helped with that. Learning to trust God, learning who my Heavenly Father is, has really helped with that.
That was a very mature answer. Are you sure you want me up here? I'm just checking.
All right, the next question is for Tom. Now, we had 2 questions that are in kind of that same category, which is the amends. How do you know you are ready to make amends, and can you do it before step 9?
My suggestion to that is to take the steps in order. How do you know you're ready to do step 9? You worked 1 through 8. That's the simple answer. Now, life doesn't work on my schedule or my plan or how I'm working my steps. So there were occasions where I was making amends things my way. I recommend following the step process because they're there for a reason, and they were placed in that order for a reason. And because the fact of the matter is, even something as nice as, quote, making amends, left to my own devices, with my own selfish self-centeredness, I can mess that up and hurt somebody and make it worse.
All right, the next question is for my husband.
Be nice. Be nice to me. It was just Valentine's Day. I love you, dear.
Bribery doesn't work
Wait a minute,
here.
I gotta get a different one. How does 4th step differ for trauma versus addiction?
Okay. We need to put both on a 4th step and do the 4th step. The process, so I'm going to say with trauma would be, the big thing would be forgiveness. And forgiveness does not condone the bad actions of someone else. Forgiveness is, I'm not going to hold this resentment anymore. It's putting down that sack of potatoes that you talk about. I think that's a different, your part in it is going to be different with trauma than with an addiction. In addiction, it's, this was my part. I created my own misery. With trauma, your part may be nothing. I just held the resentment or the anger.
Yeah, definitely. Because sometimes people don't even know that they did something, right? And sometimes we hold on to those resentments.
You only see yourself in the mirror.
Yes, correct. All right, Whitney. How can I be powerless if I'm still functioning at work?
Trick question. Next. How can you be powerless if you're still functioning at work? Functioning is not the same as having power. Let's start there. You can get up and you can put coffee in the coffee pot. That doesn't mean you have any power as to whether or not it's going to run over the side of the coffee pot. You can get up and you can drive into work. You're powerless of what's going to happen on your drive. You can be sitting there following all of the road rules and somebody comes into your lane and ruins your day. Powerlessness is not the same as functioning. And once you understand that it's not the same as functioning and that what you're actually doing is what you're saying is, God, you can take care of this far better than I can, that's when you learn how to be powerless while you're still functioning.
Thank you, Whitney. That was really good. That was really good. This one is for Heidi.
Yay.
Why do people in recovery tend to talk about other addicts when they relapse instead of encourage them to get back up?
Well, that's a really hard one, and that's something that, for me, I'll just speak on experience. Hurting people hurt people. And so we as addicts, I, again, speak for myself, am judgmental. And I want to point out other people's flaws because I don't want to point out my own. And it's easier for me to say what you're doing versus what I'm doing. And so it's hard. But what we need to do is really pray for that person and really try to build that person back up. So if you catch yourself or you hear somebody doing that, just don't participate in the conversation. Really stop that conversation and really try to lift that person up. Be the person that goes to that person and is a friend to that person and really points them back to Jesus and the answer.
Thanks, Heidi. All right, Tom. What's the best way to get a friend sober without them realizing it's happening?
Pray. I'm sorry. I want to ask a question here for everybody. Have all of us agreed with the first step, that I've admitted I am powerless over alcohol, drugs, whatever? If that is true in my life, it certainly is true in that person's life. I'm powerless over that person. Pray. Be a good example. Show them sobriety. Don't yammer at them about it. Let them see your life change. There's that phrase, if you want what we have to show people what we have. And that maybe is the most difficult thing we can do. But let's face it, I don't get anybody sober with or without their cooperation. What I do is I bring them in front of God, Christ, recovery, and I try to live the example, badly, but the best I can. And hopefully they will want what I have. And that's my answer to that.
Thank you, Tom. That was good. Kip, how long did you stand on your head to get step 4 done?
So it's a little flat.
That was specifically for him.
So, I don't suggest anybody do this. My first time in recovery, I kind of thought I did a 4-step in my head. I was in my 20s, and of course I didn't stay sober. And I was going down that same route this time too. So I waited 6 months before I took an honest first step and actually began to work the steps. I knew I needed to work. By then, I truly admitted I was powerless over my addiction, and I couldn't do this. I needed God's help, and I knew that I needed to do a 4-step. And I don't suggest anybody wait 6 months to start writing a 4-step. You know, we talk about the 1, 2, 3 shuffle. People will do steps 1, 2, and 3 and go out because they didn't do a fourth step. That's my experience.
And I'm going to ask him this second question because it kind of leads on to it. How do I know if I am truly surrendered or if I am just in a white knuckle state of forced abstinences?
Well, yeah, told her to be nice.
The reason why is because I know his story, and I have actually lived the other side of it, and I want him to share this.
I had to completely surrender to God. You know, for me, it was after that 6 months. You know, I was only going to do recovery for about 9 months just to get you off my back. And my life stayed unmanageable. And so it was after that 6 months that I started to work the steps. And it was suggested when I got to step 3 that I do the third step prayer in a sanctuary, much like this one, on my knees as an act of humility, and turn my will and my life over to his care and ask God's help and protection. And when I got up, I felt something different. And I've said that prayer every morning since. That's one of my non-negotiables because I will take my will back, and I need to surrender it to him on a daily, more than once a day sometimes. I need to surrender my will to God. You know, the world teaches us to try and do things ourselves.
And that white knuckling does happen, guys, because he wasn't working that program. And me not being an addict, I didn't understand it, but I was watching it. And so when we don't work this program, when we're not taking that action, a lot of times that other person, that spouse, that person you're with can kind of feel something. And so there is something there. And, but God, I'm telling you, God's done a miracle in our life, as some of you already know, and he's turned it around. And that's by working the program, him doing the steps. That's why we keep talking about this over and over. And so, Whitney, got one for you. What advice do you have for someone struggling with their relationship with God?
Who's asking me these questions? So, me personally, I went through a phase where I didn't realize that I had a personal relationship with God. I was raised in a church where you were part of the body of Christ. You weren't on a personal, I couldn't call Jesus directly. I had process to go through. So when I came to Grace and I started learning that I had a relationship with God, I started struggling with, why do I get one? And if I have one, how do I keep it? Who's going to take it away from me? I actually struggled to do my fourth step because I was afraid that once I spit all that stuff out loud, that they were going to take my personal relationship with Jesus away, and I didn't want to let that go. And I think that really what it came down to is that desperation to have God be the center of your everything. The desperation to have Jesus have control over everything that's going on. You have to give that over. And when you get to that point where you're desperate to worship, when you're desperate to hear a good word from the Bible, when you're desperate to engage in this relationship and do good works and do your service, and I'm not even talking about within recovery. This is before recovery, and then I got in recovery, and I was like, oh no, I have to keep this. When you reach that level of desperation, you'll realize that it's not so much a struggle to keep the relationship. It's a struggle to participate in everything that's going to take you away from that relationship. So I think desperation.
Yes.
Yeah. And that just piggybacks to another question I want to ask you is, how do I come to believe that God really loves me?
I am awesomely and wonderfully made, knit together in my mother's womb. God crafted me personally. I didn't know that before. I thought he crafted us all the same. And he didn't. He crafted me personally. I'm not the same as you. I got the same, body functions and everything, but I am not the same. And when I realized that, and I realized how special I was, I realized that I'm not worthless. I'm special to God. I'm more than a child of God and a person of worth. I was handcrafted, personally made. And I hold on to that. That's why I introduce myself like that all the time. I'm awesomely and wonderfully made, blessed and highly favored, because that's the only way I could have gone through what I went through before and be here right now.
Amen.
Well, Heidi, I have a good one for you.
Oh, okay.
Because I know you've gone through this. Why is it so important to stay single the first year in recovery?
Oh, yeah. Well, well, thanks, guys. So it's really important. It was really important for me because I could not handle my emotions. Sobriety was really difficult for me. My first year was a roller coaster. And so, like, when you first get sober, it's really hard. I had 2 kids, too. So, like, you have your sobriety, and you have these kids, and then you have a relationship, and it's just crazy, right? And then you try to add a relationship to it. Whoa, what do you do with your emotions? So, like, dating in the first year, it is crazy because you have emotions. And when you first get sober, you get those emotions back, they tell you. And what do you do with them? We tried to hide them when we were first getting sober. So, you know, it's just dating the first year it's really tricky because you don't know what's going to happen. So, for me, I had to abstain from it because when I did try it, it went really bad. Really bad.
I have
How
another
bad was
question.
it?
What advice do you have about dating in recovery?
So I really would say to listen to your sponsor. They tell you not to get in a relationship for the first year. And I would take that advice because, I mean, it's to focus on you and yourself. You want to love yourself. You want to learn to love yourself first because you can't love somebody else if you can't love you first.
Thank you, Heidi. I know.
Yeah, it was bad. Bad. Like,
You know, guys, we're being raw up here, aren't we? I mean, isn't it good to hear these moments because we're all not perfect. We all deal with the same things you all are dealing with, and that's why we're up here. We're being raw that, you know, hey, we're not perfect at all. So Tom, how does God remove all my defects in character? And that's all.
Oh,
One at a time, not a bad answer. When I surrender it. Well, God's a gentleman and will never take anything I insist on holding on to. Now, he did take some, but for the most part, my cooperation is required. And I would say this, the limit to how close I come to perfection is determined by my willingness to let God take care of all my character defects. And guess what? I got a long way to go on that.
yeah.
And I got a couple of character defects that I don't love them, but I want to hold them just in case. And so, what am I willing to let go of? There's a line from the Big Book that says, no one among us maintain anywhere near perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Now, while in the 12 and 12 it does say that perfection is the goal, the fact is we have to be realistic and understand that as long as I'm wearing this flesh suit, I'm going to have to deal with my character flaws and the willingness to allow God to continue to change me. I tell a bunch of folks that we meet with every Sunday morning, and they're seniors, and they are, many of them coming close to the end of life, but I tell them every week, if you're not dead, you're not done. That means if I'm not dead, I'm still being changed, I'm still having character flaws removed, and I'm still having to work at being willing for that.
All right, Kip. If the 12 steps work, why do people relapse after years of recovery?
well, my story was not continuing to do the work. So when I came back to recovery, I began to watch and listen in meetings, the stories of those who had relapsed and come back. And that's pretty much what I found in my experience working with others as well. we get complacent. Life gets good. You get a girlfriend, you get the wife, you get the job, you start getting stuff back, life starts getting busy, we quit going to so many meetings, and we unplug from the power source. And it's just like a fan. You plug it in and it works. When you unplug it, well, it may still keep turning, but it starts to slow down. And if you don't plug it back in, eventually it's going to stop. And that's what happens with our sobriety. If we're not, continuing to live in steps 10 and 11 and 12 on a daily basis, I begin to go back the other direction.
May I?
Certainly.
The whole phrase is the steps work if you
work them.
So if you stop working them,
Yeah, exactly, guys. I mean, that's why we can't stress enough. I mean, I've been here 5 years, and I've seen people, do well, they're working the program, then all of a sudden you stop seeing them come, and the next thing is, what happened? And they went back out. So, that's what we're trying to show you is if you keep working the steps, you keep working this program, keep working on you, it will work. Whitney, when praying for our partner, and I know you do pray for your partner, is it acceptable to make a log of progress to remind us of God's movement and answers to our prayers?
do you make a log of your own? Do you journal? Are you meeting with your sponsor and your accountability partner so that they can sit there and tell you the character defects and help you work through your own? Because if you ain't doing that, you ain't got any business making a log of somebody else's. I don't pray for my partner so that they can get to where I want them to be. I pray for my partner to get them to where God wants them to be. I pray for my partner that God walks with him like he walked with Adam in the garden. I pray that he has the discernment of Jethro to know and to have wisdom. I pray that he has become a man after God's own heart like David. I pray that he is given promises like Abraham. I pray those things over my partner because that's God's business. It's not mine. My business is, what did Whitney do today? Did Whitney turn this over to God today? Did Whitney apologize today? Was Whitney grateful today? Did Whitney say prayers for herself today? Do you pray for yourself? I mean, you want to see progress in your partner, look for God in your partner. Look for God and do your journaling and log your own progress and just pray that God works to will and to act in their life according to his good purpose, not yours. That's my suggestion there.
We're going to do one more question, and I lied to you guys, so I'm confessing right now. We're not going to get through them all, but we're doing a good job though. So if we didn't get your question answered, we will definitely, if you want to hear that answer, definitely one of us can talk to you about it. Heidi, how do I let go of resentment when the person or persons hurt me a lot? And do I make amends to go back to my childhood and adolescent years?
Making amends to the person that hurt you a lot. So that's a struggle in itself. I myself have a lot that I'm still working on at 1,305 days. So you do have to make, an amends. Whether it's down the road or whenever, but you are going to have to let go of the unforgiveness that you're holding on to in order to recover. It's as long as if you want to get freedom from that, it's going to require some effort. But that's working with your sponsor, that's working with time, working with God on it. And the more that you work with God and allow him to help you with that, it's going to be an easier process. That's what I've done. So that's what's helped me recover.
And Tom, if I am truly powerless, how can I be held responsible for my actions? Isn't this just replacing one form of helplessness with another?
That's an interesting question and a good one. And I probably asked the same question. Because I came into recovery, I had all the DUIs and all the stuff. And, well, if I'm powerless, why is that my fault? Well, I'm powerless over alcohol and the other things we talk about. I'm still responsible for my actions. And does that seem fair? Well, nobody else did those things. It was me. And the fact of the matter is, I spent years denying the alcoholism, or even more saying, yeah, I'm an alcoholic, but I can handle it. And in doing that, in lying to myself, I was participating, yes, in powerlessness, but also in those things that I did wrong, even the ones that I didn't remember. So yes, that is a little bit difficult. But the fact of the matter is, whether I'm powerless or not, I am still responsible. And that's the difficult truth of recovery, and that's why we do this together.
All right, Kip, when I ask for forgiveness and the other person doesn't receive it, how do I return to the altar if I'm still hurting?
Give it up to God. We go and we sweep away our side of the street only. It's not up to the other person, and we can't control their reactions, whether they accept it or not. We've done our best. Amend is, A means to, and mend means fix or repair. We ask, here's what I did, what can I do to fix or repair this? They don't have to accept it. We've done our part of trying to sweep away the side of the street, and then, after that, you go to God.
And Whitney, how long did you put off your fourth step?
Look. You see what had happened was, actually, not 6 months. My sponsor was calling me. I tried to phone dodge a few times. Oh, I'm working. But not 6 months. It was actually more like a few months, and it came down to me going, well, I can't do it this day, and scheduling conflicts, and I have to work, and I have to go serve at CR. You know how terrible it is when your sponsor comes and sits down and watches you praise and worship while you're sitting there saying, I can't work on my fourth step today.
Ouch.
So God convicted me hard. I was having chest palpitations. The level of anxiety that I had, they were going to take, I was sure of it. My sponsor was going to be like, well, you can't have this relationship with God once you say all that. I was so worried about it. And then I sat in her kitchen and I said the first thing and she goes, okay. I said, okay, did you hear me? Okay. She goes, well, is that all? I said, well, no, it's not all. And I said the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And before you know it, it was done. And that was it. And
how did you feel after that?
Relieved.
And free.
I was so relieved.
Right? Free.
Yes.
Freedom.
I know.
Yes.
It was
Free.
And you guys, that's what this program's all about, is freedom. And you know what? Let's give these guys a hand.
Good job,
They
guys.
were
Yay.
open with us. I'm telling you, they were open with us and raw. We're here just letting you know, laying it so that you can hear that we do struggle. And so we're going to go ahead. And if you have something in your heart, maybe something tugged at you, you're still struggling inside, bring it to this altar. Lay it at God's feet. He knows what you're dealing with. He knows what's inside. And you're the one that's hiding. So let's go ahead and let's stand together and let's do the final worship.